Okay, just
Read that.
read. Okay. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and that it is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et sec of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act.
That was excellent.
May we all rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nora, can you call the roll, please?
Now, just for the record,
Oh.
we should announce that this is a Parsippany Troy Hills Planning Board meeting, Monday, November 4th, 2019.
That's right.
Opened at 7:35 PM.
Well done,
Thank
Councilman.
Thank you so much.
That's just for the tape.
Mr. Perelik.
Yes.
Councilman DiPiero.
Here,
Mr. Frigieri.
Here.
Ms. Hernandez.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mendel.
Yes.
Mr. Mealy.
Yes.
Mr. Patel.
Okay.
Not here yet.
Okay.
We also have with us our board planner, Ms. Favate.
Here.
Board attorney, Mr. Carlson.
Here.
And our board engineer, Mr. Wallow.
Here.
Okay, so this meeting is now open to the general public for anything that is not on the agenda.
That's correct.
Correct? Correct. So
Seeing
seeing no
no-
one come forward, we'll close that. And, so we'll start with the resolutions for this, or?
We're going to carry that resolution to our next meeting. We
Okay.
will do that resolution at the meeting of Nora.
So the application 17:515 will carry to the next, the 18th?
Yes, of November 18th.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the calendar, the 2020 schedule of planning board meetings.
I make a motion to approve.
I second it.
And finally on the agenda is the
No,
applicant.
no, we need to vote.
Oh,
Roll call.
sorry. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Perelik.
Yes.
Councilman DiPiero.
Yes.
Mr. Frigieri.
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez.
Yes.
Mr. Mealy.
Yes.
Mr. Mendel.
Yes.
Approved.
Okay. So next on the agenda is the application 19:514, RVA RSA, Rockaway, do I have to say the acronym? Rockaway Village.
read it all.
Rockaway Valley.
Regional sewer.
Okay. 99 Greenbank Road, blocks 387 and 495, lots 1 and 7, site plan courtesy review.
Good evening,
Hi.
Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Andy Brewer, Mariziti Falcon. I represent the RVRSA on this. Well, I guess it's styled an application because that's typically how you put on. Really, it's a referral under Section 31, which you all know. It's a capital review when public bodies can be spending money, and you've done the plan and you've done the master plan. Today I have with us Nancy Wallab, who has prepared the plans, and the consulting engineer who can discuss what's going to be built and why we're doing it. We also have the executive director, Joanne Mancini, if you have any questions, and the authorities engineer, Bob Pacino. Again, if you have questions, I don't, to the extent you have any questions, they're here to explain and hear your recommendations. We had the report from Ms. Favate that essentially found that the project is consistent with the master plan. We agree. There was a recommendation that the authority consider some trees, replanting some trees. And they will definitely take into consideration just one thought that they have to take into mind. Most of the stuff that they do is underground. It's pipes, it's lines, it's stuff like that. Roots are not good with those types of things. So they will most definitely consider it. They're going to look for it. You can see on the plans, the perimeter is lined with trees. Those aren't changing. But we understand the thought, and they will most definitely take that into consideration. There was also another report on getting approval when there's going to be wet taps and the other inspections that'll be needed. Absolutely, the authority agrees with those. That's it's not a problem when those permits are needed. They will be inspected, and we understand that. That's not an issue. And with that being said, I'd like to call Nancy Wallab to give a presentation and explain it. Any questions?
Begin.
As well. Since it's not an application, she's not sworn in.
No need
No
to swear her, no need to qualify her.
Thank you.
I did provide my card, though, to the board secretary, which does have my credentials. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. also a registered, certified municipal engineer as well. Okay, so, basically, just kind of wanted to run you through the project, just in terms of quick purpose. So, Rockaway Valley Local Sewage Authority currently operates its plant on the townships, on a couple of parcels, but principally on block 493, lot 1. And that's most of what you see here on this plan. Plant's been in operation for a good 4 years. And at the time that the plan was conceived in the long-term master plan for the facility, it was always thought that at some point there would be a requirement for additional treatment beyond the treatment that it's doing today. The Sewage Authority runs its plant approximately 12 million gallon a day average daily flow facility. You can see certainly higher peak flows than that. And it produces a good wastewater treatment effluent, discharges through the Rockaway River. And it's currently being asked in its next Mid-Jippies permit renewal cycle, which starts July 1. There will now be a new requirement to provide additional treatment for phosphorus. And in order to achieve that limit, the Rockaway Valley Sewage Authority now has to bring forth from its prior planning the need to construct a new facility that will treat the phosphorus, chemically precipitate phosphorus, and also provide for new filtration facilities that will aid in the treatment of phosphorus and polish the effluent a little further for the reduction of coal suspended solids. So with all that aside, basically the main improvements, which I'll touch on briefly, we'll take what you see today. Here's a zoom in of the facility today. You would all seen the facility. If you come down Green Bank Road, you'd be traveling along the tidal block there. And then on your right-hand side, you see the main oxidation channels, final clarifiers, chlorine contact tank, and this big open lawn area here. That lawn area was left deliberately years ago, again, for additional facilities, such as this phosphorus treatment facility. And when we're all said and done with this project, overall site plan of where we'll be at. So, obviously the plant has its existing circulation driveway. We'll be taking a branch off of that to provide for delivery trucks for this building. We're proposing a 4,800 square foot building. That building's approximately 47, 48 feet wide by about 105 feet long. Not sure if the Giants or Jets could train in there, but overall the building would be just about 30 feet in height, and it has a twofold purpose. Its first purpose is to house the chemical storage tanks that will store the chemical that's needed to treat for phosphorus, which is aluminum sulfate. So alum, as we call it in the industry, will be stored in the building in two 10,000 gallon double-walled polyethylene tanks. They'll be located within a containment area within the building, and in the balance of the building there'll be mechanical filters. There'll be 4 disc filters that will provide the filtration that's needed to polish the effluent. So the other features inside the building will be an electrical room. We have some electrical panels and some instruments that measure tank levels and flow rates, and also provide, if need be, any alarms that will communicate to the Rockaway Valley operators at their main alarm panel. And then We have to provide for some humidity control in the building, heating in the winter, and air changes in the summer. So all that will be housed inside this building here. This is again a blow up of the site plan. Typical of a building of this nature, we're providing for a parking area, sidewalk, so we have some circulation around the building, and some garage bay doors, which provide the ability to, if need be, to move the disc filters in and out of the building, and manway doors for proper ingress and egress. There'll be key locations on this side of the building where the delivery trucks will come and be able to use the fill port to fill the aluminum sulfate for the phosphorus treatment. And because we're constructing a new building, we've added some impervious coverage to our site. The building alone is about 0.11 acres of impervious coverage, but because we have some additional driveway and parking and sidewalk area, we hit 1/4 acre of impervious coverage. So we, in our design, have addressed the New Jersey stormwater rules. So we have a more formal stormwater management plan and design. This rendering here, which looks very busy with a lot of annotation, again, you see the building here. What you see hatched here and here are below grade storage chambers, principally for stormwater detention, and also for some water quality aspects, to filter any runoff that's coming actually directly off of the roadway and the parking area. The building drainage is connected into here, and that'll control the outflow. There's an existing riprap area that's here that we're augmenting, and there's an existing drainage pipe that takes drainage out to the Rockaway River. The main treatment plant outfalls here, and also the stormwater outfall is at the same location, so we're tying into that there. So as far as the storage area, again, we've got 2 10,000-gallon double-walled polyethylene tanks inside a containment area, but which is, you know, a depressed, sunken-in area of the building. And in addition, we have a secondary containment area. And that's what this structure is. It's below grade. So if there is a spillage outside of the building, there's a catchment area in here that can contain it. Let's see. So the only other feature really that you'll see above ground, other than maybe, again, I think a water service extension, a couple of water service extensions and fire hydrant, will be the authority in order to take the rinse water and the sludge from the filtration system. We have to construct a small sludge pumping station that'll take the sludge back to the head of the secondary treatment at the plant. So you'll see maybe no more than a foot or so above ground, you'll see the tops of some concrete chambers, again, just off the pavement in the main lawn area. So even though there is an open lawn area, we've kind of described this project as sort of shoehorning in the building and the structures. It is a tight space, but trying to keep all the facilities, you know, either within the building or adjacent to each other, to conserve space, and to keep away from, as Mr. Brewer mentioned, a ton of below-grade utilities. This is a utility plan to give you an idea. Tons of electrical and water services and instrumentation conduits, chemical feed lines, traverse the site here. So basically, at this point, the Rockaway Valley Sewage Authority is pursuing New Jersey I-Bank funding through the Water Bank for the project, principally for the construction costs, but also for project costs, soft costs. And an application has been made to the I-Bank. We've also submitted for New Jersey Treatment Works approval, which is required since we're constructing a whole new unit process here. And as a part of the project too, we made application for Morris County Soil Conservation District permitting. And when we receive those approvals, and based upon our appearance here tonight, we hope to push forward and get this project out to bid. If not at the very end of this year, then certainly in January of next year. Our goal is to get a contractor on board so that by July of 2020, we can at least have a temporary means of having chemical feed set up to start treating phosphorus. And that might simply involve, you know, a temporary tankage and temporary plume containment area, maybe a little shed to keep chemical feed equipment protected from the winter and other weather. And once we get past that, probably be another year of construction, significant lead time on disc filter equipment, and probably on the pre-engineered building. In terms of the building itself, I did bring a rendering. You can see so again, it's a rough rendering. It's indicative of the dimensions and you know, the features. We have not, because again, we're subject to public bidding, we have specified around a particular pre-engineered building manufacturer, but we'll have to see what color selections in the end they offer. But basically, we'll have a concrete footing system, a mat footing system, and then above ground for 3 or 4 feet, you'll see a concrete knee wall, and then the rest will be a pre-engineered steel building. The outer skin will be insulated paneling, likely a neutral color, you know, nothing unusual or loud or
Jet screen?
obtrusive. Jet screen is a strong possibility. That might be up on Ms. Monsini, but you know, again, I can't think of the colors right now of the existing buildings, but they're fairly neutral.
If they're not memorable, that probably makes sense.
Yeah, they're
You know,
neutral.
and you know, we'll complement that with the metal roof system. So again, for where we're constructing the facility right now on Rockaway treatment plant, it's maintained lawn area. Wherever there's existing sidewalk or existing pavement or existing gravel driveway, we're going to restore that as it's disturbed for the project, and whatever lawn area is disturbed, we'll restore that as well. And that will have to also satisfy our soil conservation district permit. So right now, when you put it all together with the building construction and all the below grade piping, I should add one more key element to the job. Since we're digging so close to some existing piping that's PCCP pipe, which is pre-stress cylindrical concrete pipe. I won't say that 10 times, but you know, we have to make some piping connections into that piping, and it's an opportunity because of the extensive digging in this area to actually take piping that's here today and replace it with a more modern equivalent. It's right here where the authority meters its flow, and that meter is the flow data that gets reported to NJDEP on a monthly basis. So the authority wants to make sure that this piping is in good shape, and the nature of making connections to this piping as a result of this project necessitates replacing a section of piping. So as a part of this project, we're also replacing large 60 and 66-inch diameter piping and some valving out here. I think that's the extent of the project. So because of That right now, I think we're just shy of about $10 million for construction costs. And
For a prefabricated steel building?
yeah, well, no, that's all the,
No, but that's all the site work.
it's pipe
Yeah.
and
Well, it's the
This-
jet green that costs that much.
the jets,
Yeah.
the jets.
Yeah.
Giant blue.
I don't think 10 million would help them.
10 million will not help.
That's pretty much it. Sorry if that went fast, but I know
No, but it was thorough, it was very good.
not much else. I'm happy to take questions. Anybody really wants to peruse these?
I just have one question, if I may. I noticed there's no fire department report, and it concerns me. You're dealing with hazardous materials there, and wouldn't the fire department want to know what kind of chemicals you're using there in case there is a fire or some disaster?
Mr. Joanne Mancini, the executive.
Come to the
Come
microphone,
come
please.
forward if you would, yeah.
We submit a right-to-know survey or hazard communication survey on the proper schedule. I think it's every year, and every 5 years, we do a whole new right-to-know survey. That's the old name for it. So it would be reported on that for anything that's under the 2,000 gallons or more container, large container. Storage, and that goes to the fire department, goes to the county, it goes to everywhere it's supposed to be distributed to, so.
I would have just felt better if we had at least a response that says everything is fine.
I'm sure, Nora,
It was
the
sent.
application was sent,
Certain districts do not respond.
and there you have it.
But they'll get it anyway, they'll get our right-to-know survey, so they're gonna know what's there when it's built.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Any other questions?
Why wasn't Adam Gase fired this morning?
What?
Couldn't help myself.
Actually, one or two. First question is, what form does the alum take? I'm concerned or just curious about the transfer from your delivery trucks to the storage facility. Is it a powder? Is it?
It's a liquid.
It's a liquid. It comes in the concentration and the state of matter that we want it. So it comes in liquid, the way that the chemical feed will be done, at best it could get diluted, and that would just simply be with water. But for the most part, the concentration that we order is how we want to dose it. So we won't be
Along
handling
that
it,
same line, if you don't mind.
processing it.
The first question I had, you had answered, is you've put in provision for a spill from the truck.
Right, when we're required.
I knew it was a
Yeah.
liquid.
Yeah.
How many deliveries are you planning on? A week, a month?
So we're planning on a 2-week storage. Again, it'll vary, depending on the flows. The dosing is based on flow and loading to the facility, but we have a 2-week storage by 14-day, so 2 calendar week. And on the delivery side, Joanne?
I think we were, off the top of my head, I think I remember 4 deliveries a month, or it was every 2 weeks.
Yeah. So we don't wait till empty, obviously.
One tank wagon every
Yeah.
every week?
Pardon, say again?
A tank wagon every week?
Probably 2 every week.
I have a question. You said this was New Jersey permitting speedies?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a regular.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you're not the only plant doing this?
No.
Yeah, so, right,
Yeah, no.
right. So is this like tertiary?
This is considered tertiary
So
treatment.
cool. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no, it is.
Okay.
It's a good thing.
It is. It's very important.
Yeah, and you should know, we remove
Yep.
phosphorus biologically
Already.
right now. Typically, the influent phosphorus is around between 4 and 5.
Milligrams per liter.
Milligrams per liter. We remove biologically right now down to about 1, between 1 and 2 on an average, a monthly average, milligrams per liter. So that really impacts the amount of chemical now we
Right.
have to use to remove the rest. And it's a a particulate, yeah, I can't say the words, too late at night.
Precipitate.
My body thinks it's 9 o'clock, it's bedtime.
She wants to say
Um,
precipitate.
That's
I
what
just
she's
wanted to
looking at.
reply to what you said, which said they mechanically reduce so much of the phosphorus that
Right.
they need less of its chemical.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Which
it's
is
biologically
Right.
removed,
Right.
right, so
That's good.
that means less tanker trucks coming in, that means less of everything, and, so.
Well, just to follow up on my first question, we're trying to encourage the use and inclusion of permeable surfaces, and I'm asking as someone who knows little about what you do. And so in this case, because you have those spillway secondary treatment catch basins and things there, does permeable surface on your, like the extended driveway and things like that make sense, or would that actually allow, spillage to seep into the soil, beneath whatever's there?
It would be a little harder to make sure everything is directed, even if you were able to avoid permeate. But you're literally opening yourself up to allowing it to permeate. You want it to run off. You don't want it to happen.
Right.
You want it to be contained.
Yep.
But
Well,
if it's,
that's what I was
yeah,
thinking.
it has
This
to
may
get
be one of the
directed and
few
it
areas
can't,
where it
percolate.
probably doesn't make sense to
Right.
encourage
No,
it.
this
We're
is
not
an
allowed
area
to
where you wouldn't want it
discharge.
because it's the Rockaway River
Yeah.
too.
And
Yeah,
There.
we're
Yeah.
not allowed to discharge anything to ground or surface water without a permit.
Exactly.
So our containment is to do exactly
Okay.
that, contain it, so that we can put it where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And how is that sludge disposed of?
Oh,
It gets hauled out, we have rotating drum thickeners, we thicken the sludge, we make typically between a 5 and 6% percent solid slurry, and that gets pumped out into tanker trucks and then hauled to Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission, where it's then blended in their process, and they tell us we do other with it. So maybe some of it goes to landfill somewhere, some goes to recycle.
Right.
We don't know, it's up to
I mean,
Passaic Passaic Valley.
that's not what this is about,
Right,
though.
right,
No,
right.
that's
Yeah.
their existing
That's your-
biosolids process
Right. Mm-hmm.
today. The very dilute sludge, like that's probably maybe 1% concentration that's coming off this new process, is not going to waste. It actually is getting
You
recirculated back to the head of secondary treatment, because it still has a quality to it. It can actually help reflock and
Right, your bugs.
be an integral part of secondary treatment. It'll go through some passes, and just like the existing wastewater process, eventually sludge has to be wasted, and then when it's wasted through the clarifier system, and then undergoes the process that Joanne explained. So we're
So
not
there's no
antici-
buildup on the property of that sludge?
No,
It's taken
right,
no,
care of.
right,
Okay.
no.
right.
Highly regulated.
Yes, because it's all, yeah, that's that's not what the tertiary treatment's
Okay.
affecting so much. So, does anybody else have any questions on
Madam
the
Chair?
process?
Ma'am, I believe there is a dedicated route for trucks entering and leaving the facility. I imagine that will continue to be the case
Yes.
Yes.
after this construction.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, our trucks, our contracts with any of our suppliers all state unequivocally that they have to follow all federal, state, and local regulations as concerning Department of Traffic regulations and weight classes and all that,
I
so.
believe that's to minimize traveling through some of the residential areas.
Correct,
Yeah.
right, yeah, because the roads have to be built and they have to be a truck route.
Yes.
So they have to be built for that purpose, and the truckers must comply with the regulations for weight and everything locally, state, and federal highways.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, I just had a couple minor site comments. I mean, one of which you already addressed, which was the trees, and I fully understand there's a lot of pipes. So I guess if you could find anywhere on the property to replace them, it's not just about the buffer. It's about being more serious about one-for-one tree replacement. just generally in the township. And the second one was just so the board members know, I know that often we don't like light poles to be super high. I think here they're 25 or so feet. My thinking was that it's a fairly industrial site anyway, and is interior, and then, of course, they're reusing those existing light poles, so I think they're fine, basically, was the long and short of it. That's all I had.
Should any of those been marked exhibits?
No, this is not a hearing. This is
Okay.
just a courtesy review. So it's not a hearing. So we don't have to abide by those formalities.
Yeah.
No.
No?
No?
No, we sent you, you should have a full
Okay.
set of plans.
You can take them all home and enjoy.
I carried it over my shoulder.
Yeah, they were heavy, pretty big.
The Jets use them to work out.
Yeah.
And our field is large enough, we can at least hold partial practices on our field. We got that big field there. And just as a matter of, where Bob and I both happened to work for a different town, same town, several years ago. And when the Jets were looking for a new home base for practice, the town that we worked for, we had a decommissioned police car, and they painted it. They had it sent out professionally done in green and white with the Jets emblem and everything, because we were in the running to get the Jets in town. And actually happens to be the same town that Nancy here lives in.
It is.
So
Yep, I
it's
remember the truck.
we didn't win. The town didn't win the Jets, but we did get a park. So the Jets
put the-
donated a nice park and.
See, and I rest my case, the win-loss record doesn't matter.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
And we all won Adam Gase. So there you have it.
They can build a splash ground.
That's right. They did do that.
Any other questions?
We had
No,
no
we-
engineering comments. You described the stormwater.
We kind of go through this,
Yeah.
I've gone through this a number of times with our own sewer treatment plant
Yeah.
down on New Road.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting, when they improved their process, their plant was built in the early 1960s. And it was pretty old technology when they built it. So every time the EPA came out with a new particle to be removed, they had to put up a new building and a new process. Another particle had to be removed, a new building, a new process. So our sewer treatment plant was the third largest user of energy in the power company's energy grid.
Wow.
Big electric costs, those blowers and compressors and pumps. So I was pushing to upgrade for years, and finally I had a study done. And when we did finally do the upgrade, because I knew our sister town is Wayne, same size,
Right.
50 million gallons per day capacity, identical, except their electric bill was 75% less than ours.
Well, you're in
So-
the energy aggregate.
So when we finally upgraded our sewer treatment plant, we now have 3 vacant buildings there that we didn't need anymore because we improved the process.
The blower technology has changed a lot too, the compressors and the blowers you can.
And they didn't need as many,
Yeah.
with this new process, they didn't need as many of those blowers and compressors.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And the ones that they have, they can consume a lot less energy. There's these big turbo blowers now that, they run on like magnetic bearings
And
and.
the VFDs,
VFDs.
variable frequency drive, so you don't have to run at 100% speed. So there's a whole lot of new technology out there to reduce your energy consumption.
Great.
But we still have the same problem you do. What to do with the ash? Gotta be trucked away.
Trucked away.
Well, years ago, they were talking about an ash to glass process, and which never happened. It was a shame.
I worked on that when I was with Westinghouse.
Did you?
Yeah.
Heat it to extreme
Yep,
temperatures
turn it
and
into glass.
compress
and
it?
then they would grind it up and put it into the asphalt.
Yeah.
I think they tried it in
Mucho dinero,
Yeah.
that's the reason.
the south.
It always comes down to dollars.
Yep. It's an elegant solution.
I thought it was.
Well, today you would have.
Any more
anaerobic
comments on the
digestion.
application?
That's right. I used to work in New York City on wastewater treatment. Some of those plants were like 350 million gallons per
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
out, Brooklyn, and they're like, huge.
The one that's the state park on the
One's
West Side
like-
Highway.
Yes, well, the North River.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the park on top.
still
and
smells sometimes.
It still smells, yes.
Big one that goes to Jamaica Bay, right by the
Red
big
Hook?
one. Red Hook, yeah.
Newtown Creek.
Newtown Creek.
Oh, good.
Newtown,
Creek,
yeah.
yeah.
The only question I might have is, when you're transferring stuff there, sometimes an odor escapes. And I guess you can't help that all the time.
No, well, we built a building, so that the trucks can pull into,
An
a filling
enclosure,
site.
an enclosure
They shut the doors, they fill the truck, they open the doors, and there's ventilation running, should be running continually as they're doing that. And then once the truck is loaded, they open the doors, the truck goes out. So it should mitigate,
okay.
the odors.
Yeah, we used to get that smell on a golf course once in a while. The deer didn't like it either.
There you go,
I'm
that's
used
a
to it
managing
also,
deer.
so.
Right, deer managing. Well, thank you very much for
Okay,
your.
thank you very much for
Very
hearing.
thorough.
Does the board typically write a letter that we have complied with Section 31?
I believe the secretary will send a note saying that,
Great.
am I correct, Nora?
Yeah, are we,
What do we typically do? We send a note saying that they've appeared here and,
typically though, we talked about doing resolutions even for courtesies, I thought.
Oh, that was for the minor.
yeah, I think for courtesy, I think we can just do a letter. I think that's what we'll do. You'll be fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Could we come visit when you're doing this?
Well, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Councilman DiPiero would like to practice his short game on that big lawn if we can.
Okay.
Okay.
Last time I was there,
I'll
you
let
guys were
everybody
giving
know.
a tour, so it seems, yeah.
So do we don't have to adjourn anything?
No, we gotta adjourn.
I was just gonna say, if I could have that 9
She wants to play. Okay.
Just up to 3 is good.
3 minutes on the message.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Yes, and Cowboys.
I just wanted to update everybody on the master plan.
Ah.
We are getting ready for a hearing on November 18th.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
So we've been feverishly working in our office on the final edits, and I went through all of your comments, so thank you for everybody who sent them in, and I got organized and checked them off, and so I think we've incorporated everybody's comments, and I just wanted to give you a quick sense of kind of big ticket changes. We did add another goal on sustainable development. So sadly, we now have 13 goals. It's kind of unlucky, but no, it's okay. It's okay.
Bad luck number.
Susan, before,
Yeah.
several times now, I have asked Leslie, she had a nice chart for the affordable housing that listed all of the locations and the units,
Yeah.
okay? The buildable and the low income.
Right.
Okay? The nice 2-page summary. I lost mine, and several times
You've asked her for it.
I've asked Ed and Leslie can they find me a copy of that? And they
Yeah.
said yes every time, but I still don't have it.
I may have it in my email. I will try to track it down for you.
If you find it, would you send me a
Yeah.
copy?
I'm not going to be here in the next week, so I'll try to do it next week.
Councilman, I think I have that in my email.
But I know if I dig, it's just I'm getting on a plane tomorrow, so, but I can get it.
Susan's absence, I
You
think
know,
I can find
you
that.
have all that information, but
Yeah.
yours is spread out over 19 pages.
Yeah, I
you
get
know?
it.
That little 2-page chart is
It's a
really
quickie.
nice.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look for that.
We can get that to you.
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you.
Yeah, Leslie and Ed have been a little.
I know.
It's a lot of things to chase down with the final settlement. So we added the new goal, made reference to the affordable housing plan earlier in the plan when we talked about population. That was a comment from a couple of you. We expanded the discussion of the water supply, drinking water supply, based on some meetings we've been having with John Weworka, trying to get a sense of capacity and future development and all of that. Similar on sewer, got some information from Joe Beckmeyer, your sewer superintendent, so we've added that. Just some tweaks on some other recommendations. A few new recommendations in the land use plan. One I think will make Jennifer really happy is an official zoning map in digital format. That doesn't exist. And I know she's been eager to have that, and I think that's in the works anyway. Next week, I talked about this with Andrew at some point, and this came up in the recent Saraceno application, that we're recommending that the township establish a policy where you have properties that the actual private property line goes to the right-of-way center line, that it really should be the township's policy as you have subdivisions to get, get the right-of-way back into public ownership through dedication or something similar, even if that creates variance conditions. And we saw that happened with Saraceno, and it was fine. It's just a cleaner requirement. We strengthened the recommendation, or a recommendation to strengthen the requirement for the environmental assessment reports. We've talked about that last time. Post-approval compliance, right now, Keller and Kirkpatrick and BFJ, we do some compliance review after the fact, after applications are reviewed, but there's not really a great mechanism for the forester or fire department or police to have that same level of compliance. So that's a process change. Looking at strengthening off-site contributions to water and sewer capacity impact, basically. And then several things which had been in the works, and we're getting into the master plan just so when they come into the ordinance point, it's easier for noticing. So the gas station buffers, I don't know if you all remember, that was last year.
Yep.
It had first reading, you did master plan consistency, and then it never had second reading. So it's gonna have to be reintroduced next year, and if it's in the master plan, it'll make it easier for noticing. Short-term rentals, that's Airbnb, we beefed that up. This is a minor one, but Scott brought it to my attention. Fences and walls, you have a requirement right now where fences have to be set back 6 inches from the property line. So if you have two neighbors and they each are set back 6 inches,
That's a good
you have
point.
this
I
weird
have that.
no man's land that can't really be maintained. It's a little silly. So minor change, but could make life easier.
What change did you do there?
Just allow them to be on the property line, share the property line with one fence, be a simple thing.
So you don't end up with a 1 foot.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Long overdue, but I just wondered what the solution was.
Until they
Right.
start making
Right.
1 foot wide lawnmowers.
Right. And then there was just
have
a
that in my
small
backyard.
group of revisions that we made to some existing recommendations. We had a little discussion on hotels, and we've been doing kind of separately from the master plan, a little zoning analysis of hotels. So we've kind of wrapped that in, and we've firmed up the recommendations to basically allow them in more places because they exist already, and I would say 90% of them are not conforming and haven't been conforming ever. It hasn't made them go away. So rather than keep them non-conforming, allow them and encourage some upgrades, with some conditions. So we've put that in there. We beefed up the stormwater management with some communication from Keller and Kirkpatrick. I think we discussed that. Strengthened recommendation on trees and buffers and landscaping. Really trying to get not only a tree replacement, but more of a like for like. So you don't take down mature trees and replace them with arborvitae, that kind of thing. It's not quite the same. We've expanded a little bit, a few new parking recommendations, and the same with neighborhood scale, which we've talked about a lot. And then the last one is probably a minor one, brew pubs. There's a person or a company or business that's interested in adding that, and it's not allowed anywhere in
what?
Parsippany. A brew pub, like a brewery essentially, but a brew pub is a brewery that also is a restaurant. So
They make their own beer, is that what you're
they
saying?
make their own beer, yeah. So we've suggested allowing those in basically all of your business districts. Now, it also requires state permitting, so it's not like you're gonna see
Right.
100 breweries now. It's
And
pretty
they'd
hard
also-
to open a
they'd
brewery.
still have to get a liquor license, right?
Exactly.
So
I think it's a different
you're not
type
gonna
of
see a lot of
license.
them real fast.
Yeah, you're not gonna see a proliferation.
It's very hard
It's-
to get that license.
It's
but-
hard.
It's impossible, we're sold out. The only way they can get a liquor license in Parsippany is to buy one from
Right.
someone who owns one.
I think the brewery is a different type of license.
It
perhaps.
is,
It's-
because
it's not,
there's a.
it's not a clean area.
There's a brewery in Fairfield that
Yeah.
has a small
Yeah.
public
Right.
area.
But I
But
know
but
even
the-
that it's hard
it's
to.
very
open.
hard to get them from the state.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now, but it's a very trendy use.
Yeah.
They're trendy, it's nice business.
Yeah, and there's at least one existing restaurant that apparently wants to add it.
Right.
And it's the Grotto on Route 10.
Oh, really?
And they're not even technically allowed as a restaurant, so that's another change. Allow restaurants in the OT district because they are there. So I guess just stay tuned. We're sending everything to Nora, hard copies later this week.
Yes.
So you should all be getting your copy, and we're trying to get up on the web as well. So this week is all about final revisions and making sure we're fitting in with our noticing. So we're getting there. Okay.
Thank you.
And thanks for all your input and your review and your comments.
And when you finish that, you start on the next revision?
No, but I do think that early next year we should have a work session and talk about priorities, because I think we're going to be needing to give the council some sense of what the planning board would like to do, and I am planning, I think, on potentially briefing the council soon, because you guys are the ones who, you know, actually adopt the ordinances, you review capital projects, and a lot of these recommendations, you know, they require money. So it's the council who is sort of the final say on that. But I think this board needs to kind of get a sense of where you want to start, what goes first.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Madam
or
Chair, can I make a comment?
issues?
I took a preview tour of the Whole Foods Market this afternoon. They're opening on Wednesday, and I was really impressed with the size of the place. It's huge. And I don't know how competitive their prices are gonna be. From what I could gather, I don't know if they're gonna compete with a ShopRite or one of those types of stores.
No.
They're not intended to compete with
Different,
ShopRite.
Yeah, I don't think they are, that's true.
That's why they're called
Wegmans or
Paycheck.
something.
They'll
Yes,
compete
yeah.
with maybe.
So I was really impressed with the size of
they're nice.
of the place after having worked on it
Alright.
previous years.
Yeah. Okay, so do we call for?
Think we want a motion to
a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn, do I have a
Motion
motion?
So moved.
adjourned.
Okay, that was Bruce,
That was
and
Bruce.
seconded by
Steve.
Harold? Okay.
Harowick second.
Okay, do I do this again?
You do that again? Do
All
it
right.
one more time.
Have to wait for dinner.
You're very good at that, Judy.
Jump out of my seat.
Changes.
Take it away, I know.